Drive Time on RTE Radio 1 with Ulster Bank Business Achievers Awards.
There are calls both here and in the USA for disgraced ex-Ireland swimming coach George Gibney's immigration status to be looked at. Gibney has been living in the USA for many years now. There are questions about how Gibney obtained a green card despite being charged or having been charged with multiple sex offences here in Ireland. Brian Lally has been finding out more.
Gibney's name has come up again in recent weeks, with questions being asked about his immigration status in the States. The past, as they say, is another country. There was no Twitter, there was no Facebook. The jungle drums didn't work as well as they do now. Independent Deputy Maureen O'Sullivan has been doing much of the political spade work on this side of the Atlantic in recent times.
We know that child abuse is absolutely horrendous and horrific, and it's a difficult road to recovery. But part of that recovery is when the perpetrator is brought to justice and the victim can see that happening. And in the case of those who were abused by George Gibney, they didn't get that opportunity. Now, I know some have been able to move on, but there are others who haven't been able to do that. And we continue to have tragedies and issues for those victims and for their families who have gone through absolute hell trying to support them through this abuse. I did have a meeting with the Garda Commissioner, the Assistant Commissioner, and I know that there is a unit that are looking again through the files to see was there something that was missed or something that could be used now. It's a litany of mistakes as far as I'm concerned. I cannot believe that somebody who is up in court on over 20 charges of assault, nothing happened to him. And in the meantime, he got to America, and there are questions there over how he got in, how he secured the documentation.
I went to Justine McCarthy, who wrote the book Deep Deceptions, Ireland's Swimming Scandals.
If you're applying to get into America on a visa, you're not simply asked, have you ever been convicted of a criminal offence? You're asked, have you ever been accused of a criminal offence? Now, he had been more than accused. He was charged with 27 counts of raping children and sexually assaulting them. So it is hard to understand how he could have got past that obstacle. There is, of course, the question that he had important contacts in America as well. And this question came up in the taking of court depositions in California a few years ago when the American swimming scandal started to open up there. Was he given references from some of his coaching counterparts in America later on? And that's why people are very keen to see what is in his immigration file that's being held by Homeland Security in America.
So as you can see, several questions now present themselves.
Who vouched for him? Who put their names to his green card? Were there Irish sponsors? Were there US sponsors? There has been a Freedom of Information request made to the Department of Homeland Security by an American journalist also looking at this, and he wants access to those papers.
He has been writing about the scandal in American swimming for quite a long time. He applied to Homeland Security for Gibney's immigration and green card file.
If in his application he was asked if there are any outstanding criminal records or if he has anything hanging over him, and he said no, well, they can rescind it on the basis that he lied in his application. I know they have been through his application because they've looked, because so many forces in the US from Colorado to Florida have looked at his application and they can't find anything. It seems to me that he must have lied on his application for a green card. If we could see the answers he put down in the application for the green card, then you could point out, well, this isn't true or this isn't true.
I do think Ireland could be held to be very culpable in this, that we have facilitated somebody, known abuser, to leave the country.
Derry O'Rourke, who was the national coach in 1980, was jailed. Gibney then came in between 84 and 91. When Gibney left, O'Rourke came back again in 92 for the Barcelona Olympics. So there was a phase there where the two national coaches were abusing children. So there is a whole network of abuse in Irish swimming. People just need to know more about what happened, who said what and who did what, because this guy is now moving around America and apparently living freely.
There are still many victims of George Gibney, Frank McCann, Derry O'Rourke et al. they take a pretty dim view of any continuing investigation into Gibney's exploits.
Chokey White, who has been very courageous in speaking about the abuse that he suffered from the age of 11, he, for one, has said that he has lost faith in the current investigation. I think that is extremely difficult for survivors.
I mean, the irony is that if he had been brought to court, he would have served his time and he could have gone on with his life, and his victims might have had some sense of getting on with their lives. But it's continuing and continuing, and you know, each time there is another abuse case, for whatever reason, it brings it up for those victims who are still trying to cope with what he did to them.
And that was Brian Lally there reporting in the case of George Gibney.